Not gonna lie, first thing I thought when Maggie and Claire started speaking was I haven't really had access to a stage like this with this many engaged people ever, so this could be a little dangerous with this hot mic, but we'll see.
Oh my
We'll
gosh,
see.
looking forward to this more than anything else.
No, for starters though,
He's amazing.
similar to Claire and Maggie, they kind of took my first two sentences, but I do want to thank the Duranis for hosting such a wonderful wedding, being so accommodating and generous. And I also want to thank my parents for the beautiful rehearsal dinner last night. You know, it's great to see everyone here, from Pierce's to Duranis, Youngs to O'Connors, and friends and family from Maine, Maryland, and beyond. Your presence here has truly made for a special evening and brought it to life. Now, most of you know why I'm standing here before you. And yes, some could argue that as the sole brother of the groom, it's by default. But I'm still here. As Pierce's brother, and yes, those close to us know that from an early age, I insisted on being just like one of the other guys and referring to him as Pierce. I'll be the first to say, this relationship has been one of highs and lows, of mountains and valleys.
Oh my.
To trace the origin of this rivalry,
That's amazing to know.
one must travel back to Oakhurst Road, where screaming matches surrounding the Red Sox and Yankees were nothing more than background noise to our neighbors. Like the Red Sox, I was always the underdog of this relationship. That was pretty much cemented on our 5th and 7th birthdays, a week apart in May, when I received a humble pack of Legos from our great uncle, and Will, an autographed portrait of Derek Jeter from the same. It's no coincidence that I don't see Uncle Frank out there today, so take that. As our childhood and adolescence progressed, the rivalry continued. But, like any good rivalry, we grew to appreciate and depend on one another. Or at least, that's how I felt about Will. Riding shotgun as Will drove our 95 gold Volvo to school each day, I felt a tremendous sense of pride walking alongside Will through the high school doors. That sense of pride continued when a teacher would ask, with a gleam of hope in their eyes, "Hey, are you Will's brother?" "Yes, I am," I'd respond proudly. His reputation as a smart, hard-working kid that always tried to do the right thing put me in a great position to follow. I'd always do my best to walk along that path he had paved. Fast forward to Will's senior in high school, when my wildest dreams of being able to play alongside him on the baseball diamond became a reality. Granted, I use the word play liberally here when referring to myself. Picture this. It's a Saturday afternoon in June, and we're playing our rival Greeley High School. Will steps up against one of the biggest trash talkers in the league and hits a home run well over the left field fence. Erupting with elation from the dugout, I beelined it to home plate and was the first to embrace him, arms outstretched as if I were the one that just hit the home run. Through it all, we had some good times growing up. Now, I'll always remember my mom's words of wisdom about relationships, and she had said, you can tell someone's with the right person when that person elevates them to be the best version of themselves. And that's where Theresa comes into play. Now, before I get to that, let me backtrack and say that following Will's departure to Georgetown, it wasn't all bonding and bro hugs. Fact of the matter is, summers were particularly tough. He found a way to command primary access to the car, and the only time I could drive it at all is when I would go and pick him and the Cape crew up from the old port after a night out on the town. But, Theresa, the big sister I always wanted, the little brother you never asked for. The first time I met Theresa was when I visited the spring of their senior year at Georgetown. Ironically, the only thing I could think about the whole trip was, who had my brother turned into? Here's a guy with a nice, poised girl alongside him, both taking the time to introduce me to their friends, show me around the best spots at Georgetown, and take a genuine interest in my life back in Boston. He was his best version of himself, and I knew why. Things were pretty much sealed when Theresa rallied the troops to go to the legendary Rhino Bar, and even had the presence of mind to scrounge up an expired ID so that I could participate in the festivities. Thank you, Eddie McCrossan. The night was legendary. I knew living in separate cities after graduation would be hard on Will, and after 2+ years in the Big Apple, it was time to get out. Fact of the matter is, the dude's soul was crushed. As Will's job interviews in DC started to progress, I would sit there anxiously by my cell phone, awaiting any updates, as if I were the one interviewing. When Will did receive that job offer from Capital One, I knew he was going home. Back to DC, Theresa, and where it all began. So here I stand, with the same sense of pride I held walking through those high school doors alongside Will each day. Proud to call him my brother, and proud to call Theresa